Did you know that nearly 60% of small healthcare practices struggle with consistent growth because they lack a clear business system and strategy? And in specialties like hormone and functional medicine, which are amazing for women, where providers are passionate about helping people, the business side, all the things that make the clinic work, often gets left behind. Welcome to the Wickedly Branded podcast. I'm your host, Beverly Cornell. I'm the founder here at Wickedly Branded. And today's conversation is for anyone who's incredible at what you do, but feels like the business side is harder than it should be. I'm joined by Jody Lane, who helps hormone and functional medicine clinic owners stop guessing what's broken in their business and build a clear, predictable path to growth so they can serve far more patients, help more people without all the multiple plates juggling in the background. Jody, welcome to the Wickedly Branded podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Hi, Beverly. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
How did you beat the chaos when you started? Tell me your story and then how to help so many other people with their businesses do.
So I didn't know I was an entrepreneur from birth. I grew up in the 70s and 80s and just assumed that what you did was you got a job, you worked your way up, and that was the way life goes. And I never really thought of anything else. And started my first business in 2003 pregnant with my daughter because my coworker and I just said, hey, should we start a business? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And then we quit our jobs and we started a business. I guess that would tell you that I'm a little bit fearless when it comes to business and money.
Absolutely.
Or stupid. I'm not sure. Maybe I was just ignorant. I don't know.
It's a good combination. But we don't know what you don't know. And then, okay, we could try. So I think that's great.
Like I started a couple of businesses and some were successful, some were not. And I'm happy to share about all the ones that were not. But basically how I got into the hormone industry is very linear. I started my last digital marketing agency business in 2015. And our very first client was a hormone clinic owner. And Beverly, you're in marketing, so you know there are certain industries that are just really hard to market and hard to get results. And there are some that are really easy because I'd always been in marketing up to that point. And this guy was so easy to market for. Everything I did, boom, I was down. And so that was pretty fun.
Dream client.
Never questioned the price, by the way. It was one of those things where I wasn't sure what to do, so I just charged a lot. And he was like, okay. And
wow. Can we duplicate that forever, right?
Also, I pointed to go into the thing.
Yes.
But really what drove me to the hormone industry, as a marketer, you do a lot of research on the industry that you're working within. And I'd never worked anything medical before. And as I did all the research about hormones and what they were and how they function inside the body, I recognized that my husband was exhibiting a lot of signs of hormone imbalance. At the age of 31, we had him tested, found out he did have low testosterone. And we gave him some, and his entire life changed.
So you had a real life experience of the transformation and the power of this particular niche.
Absolutely. So between those two things, it was like success and personal success. It was a no-brainer. One night after being his marketer for a couple of years and getting a little tired of being a marketing agency, because I don't know, I just feel like when you're an agency, it's not all businesses are willing to invest. So you have to do the best you can with very little. And it was just getting a little frustrating. And I had 3 glasses of wine, said to my hormone client, what about hiring me to grow your business? And because that entrepreneur person was still in there. And so he was like, what will it take to get you on board? We figured that out and went to work for that clinic for 7 years. So I think that's how my entrepreneur path occurred and how I ended up in hormones. And someone who's not medical, never worked in doctor. That's the short version of my path.
I love it. The 3 glasses of wine may have given you some liquid courage, but the idea was that you saw an opportunity, you saw something that was you were really passionate about because you saw the results. I had a very similar situation. Jody. I married my active duty Army husband, was an accidental entrepreneur only because I needed a career that could go mobile every 3 years. And I was like, I can't find a VP of marketing job every 3 years. You have to know people. You have to be very highly networked in that region. And I was very highly networked in Detroit, but we were going places I had never lived, didn't know a soul. So how was I going to get in to get those kinds of opportunities? And by the time I got the opportunity, nobody wants to hire somebody for 2-3 years. They want somebody who's going to be there for a while. And remote work at that level was really not an opportunity. But remote work as an entrepreneur was an opportunity. I was a customer of a natural, holistic pet food store. And loved the product, saw the transformation, the skin and coat, the health. I was having way lower vet bills. I had a dog that was very expensive. He had every allergy, everything. And all of a sudden he became very healthy, and all that kind of went away because of the food choices that I was making for him. Put him on a raw diet with balanced of fruits and vegetables and amino acids and all these different things, and learned so much about diet and animals. I had a very different background than you. I was around medicine my whole life. She was a nurse, but she also had a doctorate. And so she was like a witch doctor. So she would like, if like lavender oil didn't work on the thing, she's like, okay, now you can take this other thing that's like Western medicine. She always tried to do Eastern medicine first and trying to balance me out before she put any medical stuff in me. She is fantastic. And so I was really open to this other side of like health and nutrition for my animal and how to heal it from the inside out versus this idea of like just adding another prescription or something. I was a customer. I told her I was moving. She was devastated because I was a great client. And she was like, I know you do marketing. And she was a graphic designer by education. So she understood the investment that marketing takes to really make a difference. And at that time, nobody was really doing holistic functional stuff. This industry is fairly new, right? And in that same realm, I was like, yeah, like I want to help you do this. More pets need this. More owners need this. And we jumped in and I started doing Skype at the time and created a business from that. And we're 15 years later and she's still a client, Jody. So
that's fantastic.
She's got 2 locations, a mobile delivery service. She's got an online store now, like all the things that have happened over the years. But you're right. Like there's an opportunity you happen to like fit. And that is a magic moment of there's an opportunity here. But I could have said no and followed the corporate Barbie path. But I decided maybe I can do this. But I figured everything out on my own. But I think this idea of you seeing the transformation, I really believed in the purpose of the company. And it was like, this is so important for people to know. So I had a real deep desire to figure out that. But it's also dogs and cats, which are so easy to sell from a marketing. Kids and animals are like the magic of marketing. I'm from Detroit, the car industry world. And I was like, okay, dogs and cats are way more fun than a car. So it was meant to be. Your story was really meant to be too, because it was like this really impacted your life in such a positive way that it made sense. And when you come from that place of authenticity, of really experiencing and believing in it, I think it changes your trajectory in some way. So
all that you said is very true, but there's one extra layer to that.
Yeah.
Is what I alluded to. Like I didn't know as an entrepreneur, I think entrepreneurs have a specific DNA where they are willing to risk it. We're not affected by failure in the same way that maybe some corporate.
I was pretty scared, Jody. I was scared.
Beverly, if you have a client and you do some marketing for them and it doesn't go well, do you crawl into a rock? Well, do you learn from it?
It's information. Absolutely.
Exactly. And entrepreneurs, they get that. I have a lot of friends that like have C-level jobs. As a matter of fact, my brother and I, it's not out yet. I'm going to say this, but don't go looking for it yet. My brother and I just started a podcast. And it's about, we're watching 80s movies and then we're getting on and we're talking about what the 80s movie taught us, because in the 80s, all the movies had underdogs, right? They all were the people that were never supposed to succeed.
Yes.
Which is why Gen X is one of the most patients, because we were taught to be that way.
I think my husband would be all about it. He's an 80s movies junkie. So I feel like there'd be some shared experience thing. So very cool. So good. So when you started out and you started working, you went from entrepreneurial, then you worked in the business with this particular clinic. What do you wish people understood about those early days? I think you alluded to the idea of information and then changing information, that changing. Sometimes we doubt ourselves. So how do you like get past that? And how did you really own that particular space? Hey, I know you're listening today because you're ready to take your business and your brand to the next level. But if you're being honest with yourself, maybe even feeling a little bit lost, but you've got this big vision and you know that you're meant to make a bigger impact. But sometimes it's so hard to know where to start and which direction to take. Does that sound familiar? You're not alone. So many purpose-driven entrepreneurs feel the exact same way as you. That's why I created the Clarity Quiz. a simple tool that helps you get to the heart of what's holding you back and shows you where you need to focus next. No more second guessing, no more spinning the wheels, just clear, actionable insights that give you the confidence to move forward, that next best step. Taking the quiz will give you a deeper understanding of your brand's true potential and what's standing in your way. And the best part, it only takes like 3 minutes, but the results, they could transform the way you approach your business and brand forever. So if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and you want to start showing up with purpose and clarity, go to wickedlybranded.com and take the quiz now.
So I don't consider my time at the clinic as being an entrepreneur because I didn't own it. But I will tell you that what I learned in those early days of joining the clinic, I wish I would have taken those lessons into the entrepreneurial experience I had before. And I've definitely taken them into what I'm doing now. And that is about planning. So especially type A personality people, we're a little bit less fearless. We're a little bit more excitable. We have lots of ideas. And whether it's that or whether it's fear, because I run into a lot of providers that are like, I'm just doing this business because I can't find anybody else to work, anywhere else to work where I can do this medicine. So I have no choice but to open my own clinic. There's lots of reasons people open a clinic. But I sat down with the owner and we had an entire weekend. We mapped out everything. Our core focus, our mission statement, our core values, how we were going to grow the team, our income projections for 10 years, 3 years, and 1 year. I'm sure you read this book, Traction, right?
EOS is an amazing system. And we do EOS, we do check-ins, we do racks, we do all the things. So you're speaking my language now, Jody. Yes, I love it.
We planned all that. I've worked with about 100 clinics in the last about 5 years because I started my business as a side hustle and then ended up doing it full time when I left the clinic. So I worked with about 100 clinics. And we start with a workshop. I can tell in the workshop who is going to be really successful based off of the way they talk about the people they either have on staff or the people they're going to hire. If their attitude is they work for me and they will do what I say, and I don't have to show up and do the rules, but they have to do it, I know they're going to suffer and they're not going to grow. But if they are looking for how do I find the best people? How do I take care of them? How do I give them using work-life balance, the best salary, treat them as if they're my gift?
There's something about that kind of leadership that matters when you are growing something. And it's interesting to me because the work you do as a functional medicine person and a hormone person is so individual to the person. It's so personalized because it's based on your hormones, your levels, your experiences. They wouldn't think of that for their team. It's an interesting dichotomy, the way they treat the human and the way they would treat their staff. So it's interesting.
If you think about it this way, though, actually, in fact, I'd say two things. The first thing is when it comes to the individual personalities who own businesses and the way that they lead, medicine is a science. There's critical thinking and there's individualized, personalized medicine because all bodies are different. But not very few providers come out of college, go to medical school for hormones or functional medicine, right? They were something else first. They were a surgeon. They were an ER doctor. They were
an MD or a DO or
And they operated inside of an organization that was
it's a machine.
It's a machine.
It's a machine.
To expect somebody to walk in is a little bit further than caring about your staff. It's also creating a work environment that is systematically working properly. Because when you said, sometimes I used to operate differently, it wasn't like I was mean, but you were a little bit more of a forceful leader. That often shows up when the system inside the business isn't working efficiently or well.
Good. Yes.
So people are struggling. You're frustrated because they're not getting the job done either efficiently or on time, but it's normally the system that's out of place in the people.
That is brilliant. It is so true too. And if I look back on my experience with that, there weren't enough systems in place to support the team. Absolutely 100%. So I love that point. It's very fair in this situation for sure. I was looking through your website earlier and I saw this thing called the Power Framework. First of all, I love powers. Like this idea of being in your power and claiming your power, empowering people. So talk about the Power Framework, what it is, your philosophy around it.
Absolutely. First of all, I've got to give my husband 100% credit because he's the guy who came up with the acronym POWER. So kudos to Jamie. POWER stands for positioning, operations, workforce, experience, and revenue. Most business owners, and we know as marketers this to be true, they go right to revenue. How am I going to make money?
Yep.
The problem is when you do that and everything else is out of alignment, you can spend a ton of money on marketing, bring in a bunch of leads, bring in a bunch of customers. Those customers are going to leave and it's going to be a constant churn. What we have to do is start with who are we serving? What is our message? That's your positioning. Second, what are the systems that make my business operate well, efficient? Then how do I create an environment for the staff that is a great culture, that everybody wants to be there? And the definition of great culture is very unique. Then experience. What is your customer experience in every touch point along the way? So people go and review you and refer you. And then you can focus on marketing and sales and how do you get more customers through the door. We teach this framework and then we help our customers actually identify what they need to do in each one of those pieces, which is probably 75% standard for every hormone and functional medicine clinic and 25%.
ICP, my ideal client profile is coaches, consultants, and creatives that are service-based business owners that are women between 35 and 60. They're midlife women building businesses, right? That's my ideal person. And my other element that is super important is the idea that if they are built a business, they've operated the business, now they want authority in the business. Yeah. And so that evolution between operator and authority is a big leap from a messaging, how you show up online, how you position, those kinds of things that really create the legacy business that you want to leave. And legacy doesn't mean legacy in 100 years. No, legacy is now, building legacy now. And so those are my ideal people. And I got there based on some of the trials and tribulations of working with different businesses that I just was like, no, I don't think that's a great fit. But what's interesting, I have marketed and positioned to those particular people, but I have so many male clients because the male clients love the system. They love the clarity around what we do and how we help. Even though we've niched so hard into this very particular age type of business where they are in their business, super powerful, it attracts the right people. And I love that you have this functional medicine, hormone medicine niche. Everyone talks about niching from a marketing perspective. But the thing that's the most powerful about your niche is the narrative resonance. Your husband had an experience. You lived and worked in a clinic for 7 years, built it to 8 times its revenue. So you have this very deep experience. I am a midlife woman who has a service-based business, who 10 years ago was crying from exhaustion, thought something was wrong with me. And it really was the systems, the process, the container with which I was putting my business in that was male-centered. And she was a mom and an army wife that I had to just rethink and reconsider the whole business. From that lived experience, I want to save them 10 years of that exhaustion because that's what I spent.
There is something about the hormone industry that first very much speaks to me. I don't know if it's because I lost my mother to cancer and maybe if she would have been on hormones, survived the treatment. I don't know exactly what the calling, I don't really care. There's just a calling. There's 10,000 hormone clinics in the country. I'm sure my one little person can handle a good 20% of those. I'd rather just devote my time to people that I know that I can help them because I've been where they are.
So I love that you're staying clear and focused. One of the things that I saw and read in the application that you gave to us for the podcast was this idea of experience is better than an MBA. I'm writing a book right now, and the very first chapter is The Man Behind the Curtain. And it's all about how women specifically seek certifications and education to make them feel like they have a place at the table. Entrepreneurship, the starting a business, can teach you so much that traditional education cannot. What do you think has been the biggest thing you've learned that an MBA or some kind of certification can't teach you?
I'll say 2 things. The first is simple. It taught me how to fail. I invested almost $500,000 on a software as a service product back in the early 2000s that my husband built. We strategized it together. It was one of the first referral marketing software as a service products that ever came out. We were way too early in the market. And I was not good at getting an investor. I'm not able to share the possibility in a way that sounds real. I can't lie. Let's just put it that way. I can't lie. And that's what ended up hurting. So I learned how to fail. That business failed after about 2 years. And I don't know whether I would have that strong affinity for marketing or even a knack for it had I gone to school and learned all the mechanics. I needed to meet the client. I needed research on the customer. I needed to write the copy. I need to see how it responded. And I've done everything. Direct mail. I never did radio or TV, but direct mail, personalized website, personalized emails, Facebook advertising, social media. I've done everything over the last 30 years. And it continually evolves. But the thing that always stays the same is if you have something amazing and you can share it in a way that resonates with somebody, that's your audience, they see it for themselves, will want it. And that's all marketing is. And so I'm very glad that I did not go to school for marketing.
So I have a degree in communications, not marketing. So it's interesting that you said that, like you went to communications. And in that, you learn debate and persuasion, and you learn radio communications, you learn PR, you learn a lot of things. Human communication as well, like gender communication, organizational communication. But you're exactly right. There's also like the science of buying and the science of, there's all these like different sciences that are involved that I find extremely fascinating. Jody, I am a nerd.
Yes,
sparkly. I am a nerd with a wand, okay? But I love this stuff so much because I find it, because it really is just, it goes across so many areas of where we live. But I will admit, now that I've been doing this for a very long time, 30 years like you, that I can't go in my car and drive down the road and not notice billboards or not notice the menu font when I sit down to order food. My husband's, can you just eat dinner? And I'm like, I can't just eat dinner. So because I'm observing all the time what other people are doing, how they are presenting themselves, how they're positioning themselves. I'm always doing that.
Now it's more the words that really fascinate me. But as you're talking about what you pay attention to and what you really get excited and jazzed over, it makes sense to me why I moved out of marketing. I still do some marketing, but now it's more consulting, because I think my superpower is listening to someone talk and actually hear what's behind what they're saying, which is really true for entrepreneurs, because as they share what they want their business to look like, most of the time, it's not what they're saying.
Yes.
And we have to I ask tons of questions and try to get the layers peeled back to get down to, what do you really want? Because like you said, you're trying to solve the 10-year mistake with your clients. I don't want you to build a business that 5 years from now, you say to yourself, what the heck did I do? Now I'm stuck in this job. I can't move, whatever it is that they might not be thrilled with. So I do love to talk to people and get really clear on, what are you not saying? What are you afraid of? And let's get that out.
Yeah, we call that brand therapy, because just because you think you should show up a certain way, you think this is the way business is done, or you think that's what you've been told, that's the way it works, doesn't mean that's what really works for you. So let's get to what actually works for you. Where have you been? Where are you going? Where do you want to go? Where are you now? Okay. But what's in the way of all of that? Tell me what's happening in between all of those things. And it is, people get emotional, they cry. Oftentimes, I don't know about you, but we are the first hire they've ever made. And so it's the first time someone's actually listened to them for the first time. They feel so seen and so validated. And there's so much power in that alone, let alone whatever we create for them from a marketing perspective. It is a wonderful experience.
It's so much fun. And very validating too, because you could see, and I'm sure you experience this with brand therapy, you could see the moment on their face when they reach their authenticity.
Yes, absolutely. The way they set up, the way they talk about it, they light up. There's light switch. It goes up. Yeah, absolutely.
I had this client many years ago, and I had this workshop that I do. It's 4 hours, and there's lots of stuff that goes in it. But she was like my 10th workshop I ever did. And we map out their entire business and all that kind of stuff. And she had this 4 locations, and she was going to buy all this equipment. She was doing aesthetics and all and IV therapy and everything. And then we were done. 4 hours had gone by, and we were just chatting. And she was like, "Oh, God. One of the reasons I started this business is because I can't wait to travel. I love to travel. I want to travel 8 months out of the year." That is not the business that you just created.
No.
And a lot of people would have said, "Too bad we did the 4 hours." I erased everything and we started over. That business that you just told me you wanted to build, you were going to hate.
Yep.
And it just came out anecdotally. Yeah, it's work that's necessary for entrepreneurs.
It definitely is.
There's so much to do and so many things you can do that we don't really finish anything. We don't really go deep on anything. We're not willing to just say no to a lot and just focus on the one thing till that's successful, then move on to the next. And I think that's very painful and can really hurt a business's ability to succeed. So I think it's going wide, not deep. That's the biggest problem entrepreneurs have.
Wide and not deep. That's so interesting. I don't know if wide and not deep is the way, but I do see you and I hear you. One of the concepts I've talked about in my book is called the vanishing finish line, which is like you never finish, right? There's always another thing to do. There's always something else you have to have. There's never really a moment of arrival. I used to ask the question, when did you know you were successful? Because that seems very elusive. What is success to people? What does matter? What is important? And there's been different levels of that my whole life. I was successful when I was able to pay off my car, or I was successful when I could take a 2-week vacation and I have to work the entire time. I was successful when I was able to stop at 3:00 every day to support my son because my husband was deployed. So it needs to fit what you want. I want to travel 8 months out of the year. Is it aligned to that goal, right? Is it realistic? Does this fit into my current season? Because just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's the right idea right now because of your energy. If my husband's deployed, I probably shouldn't be launching a bunch of new things because my energy is differently divided. Is it resource? Do I have what I need? Do I have the tools? Do I have the energy? Do I have the confidence to make this thing work? Because that is key as well. And what do I need to do before that to get there? So do I need therapy? Do I need a coach? Do I need a vendor? What do I need for that? I is intentional. Doesn't matter with intention. So stay connected to your purpose, to your goals, create impact, whatever it is for you. For me, I want to help as many women as possible have agency and legacy and power and money, because when they have seats at the table, the world will be better. So my purpose is so much different. Visible. So can you show up with clarity about this idea? Can you express it? When that can happen, when you can fully enjoy the experience along the way, the wins along the way.
Yeah. For example, I'll use a hormone clinic owner as an example. I could think off the top of my head, 50 amazing things you can do for a human being to help them live a healthy, long life filled with vitality. You as a provider, not even as a provider, you as a business owner cannot market, sell, and support each one of those 50 things. So you've got to dial in. Maybe this is the marketer coming out of me when I talk about this.
Focus.
You're going to get the Empower machine, which is like a vaginal rejuvenation. Just because all women need it doesn't mean all women are going to buy it.
Yeah.
So it could fulfill all the aligned goals that you have. But if you don't have $50,000 to invest in marketing to another audience to get people to come to your office to use that to pay back for it, it's going to drown you. But then if you also bring in the Morpheus, and then you also bring in pellets, and you also bring in this, you bring in that. And I see that all the time because there are such great things we can do as business owners with whoever our niche is, whoever our audience. Mm-hmm. And we come from the perspective of if they do this, then they will get this result. But a lot of times businesses forget about what it takes for you to create operations procedure around how it's going to work, who is going to execute it. Marketing is a little bit different than in a medical office because, look, in marketing, we can have an idea. We can generate a blog, a video, magnet, all of that in a couple of hours and be done. But when it comes to buying a piece of equipment or bringing on another service, even if it makes sense in your audience, it's a lot. And I've seen a lot of providers going out of business because of that.
Focus is key. Absolutely. 100%. I don't care if it's products or services or whatever. Like you said, you're like really focused on the one niche you have right now. That is very powerful right now. Just staying in your lane, doing your thing, learning it, understanding it, and then you can multiply it. You can do other things with it. But you're right. If you spread yourself too thin, it becomes impossible. I have a magic wand, right? I waved it earlier. I have a magic wand. If there's one marketing or branding thing that I could help you with today, I could wave my magic wand and help you with. Is there a question or something that you've been thinking about, maybe just want to bounce ideas off of? Is there something that you've been considering or thinking about that's been like, I wonder what somebody else's perspective is on?
You create content in a way that you can reach your audience really effectively these days.
So you have 100 clients right now that you work with. Ask them, Where do you, I mean,
Well, I can tell you the answer. So it's definitely not LinkedIn, that's for sure.
yeah, I don't feel like it would be.
And it's Instagram and Facebook. And the reason why it's Instagram and Facebook is because that's where they're marketing their product and service.
I would even ask if I had a really good connection, maybe the doctor you worked with for 7 years, ask him, where are you going? What are you looking for? What does your search patterns look like? But you know their keywords, right? They're going to want more profitability. They're going to want more patients. They're going to want maybe more locations or something like you know what your client's goals are. And it's just really, it is exactly that. In 3 seconds, you have to hit the nerve as fast as possible so you stop scroll to get in front of them. So it's that 3-second window of whatever it is, profitability, growth, whatever you know their pain point is. And the pain point could be the one they talk about. But there's also the ones that keep them up at night. There's also the ones that there's a lot of layers of the pain point, right? So I would just go hard in those first 3 seconds with those pain points to get their attention. And then you can go a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper. You have access to people that have worked with you and love you and talk about it. Like, what gets your attention? What is it that you're looking for? Like, how do I connect to that in some way? What is the last thing they bought on Instagram or did or whatever? And like, why did they buy from it? I would just be curious in some of those things to see what they say. It's probably deeper than what they say. Dig a little deeper there. I think really sharing your story. I will say this, when I go to your website is solid. Like, it talks about how you went from 500,000 to 4.2 million, talks about your framework. You can see you. It's very human. Like, all the things are really great. When I went to your LinkedIn, none of that was there. So
That's true.
It's being you everywhere you go. And I don't mean this in a mean way. And I don't mean that way, Jody.
No.
I was like, this is not her, but her is on the website. I can see Jody through all of that. And you're telling me LinkedIn's not your profile. So it makes perfect sense that it doesn't get the love. But I would give it needs a profile banner. It needs to speak to your clients. Some of that stuff that's on your homepage should be in your about section. All that stuff needs to be consistent wherever you go. And all the things that you talk about, the power framework, every single one of those, I'm assuming those are like your content pillars. So P is for positioning. When you talk about positioning, what's the pain point that they have specifically around that? Start 3 seconds with that particular thing. Go hard and go, like you said, wide. And I would say go deep. So the first problem they have is this. The second problem they has is this. I would just really try to go in it and wide enough to capture their attention.
You may not realize it, but you answered the question. So when I first started with AMP, we put all of our energies in our accelerated medical practices social channels. And then I realized that it's all me. I'm the one doing all the content. So I've been thinking, what's been noodling around is, why is it on my corporate social channels and not on my personal social channels?
Well, yes.
Answer the question.
You have a very vibrant, your classes, you have a very vibrant brand, and it shows all over your website, but it falls flat on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So that needs to go out into your other spaces and be you. Absolutely 100%. I love that. Because that's
Beverly, right?
that is, but you're exactly right. People do business with people, not with brands.
Yeah.
So you need to pull that out more into your, and you can still be you, Jody, but you need to balance it more with like how you're different, who you serve. So I actually sprinkle on my Facebook page sometimes. It is really important for everyone in your channel to really understand who you are and to have some of that content there. Go all in, talk about the things. I was on a podcast today. We talked about this thing. There's all kinds of things you could, from your real life, that you can talk about and be really human about. So yes, be human, be you. And you are already really interesting. You just have to take that all the way through all the channels. What does it mean to you to be wickedly branded? How do you think you show up? And what's the best advice you would give to a listener to show up and be more wickedly branded?
My wickedly branded personality is just love. I love people. I've been told my whole life in every business I've ever been in, Jody, don't say that, don't do that, don't give that extra hour, I just love taking care of people. And so I've decided now that I'm 55 years old, bleep it, I don't care anymore. I am going to show up that way for all of my clients and everybody in my life. So yes, if you come to me, I'm going to probably hug you for the first time I see you. I am going to ask you about your children and about your life and more than just your business. And so that is Jody, wickedly branded. And so to that regard, I tell people, don't be afraid to be you.
Yeah.
We are a society these days where communication and messaging is so vast.
Yeah.
That if you show up embarrassing for 2 seconds, first of all, no one's going to remember. And second of all, now everybody has access to everybody. So to think that you're going to appeal to everybody is such a fantasy.
Yeah.
Just be you. And like you said before we started talking that in your early days, you had your baby.
Yeah.
Your Skype calls. And if the person didn't like it, they weren't a good fit. Everybody should have that attitude. Be who you are. And if people around you don't like it, then they'll unfollow, unsubscribe, they'll go away. And that's okay.
And that actually does you a favor.
And it does.
You don't waste your energy on people who are not the right fit.
Yeah.
Please self-select. Today I had 2 unsubscribes from my newsletter and I laugh. Okay, bye-bye. That is perfect. That's fine. And that might be, I still have to be aware and maybe, okay, do I need to what was it that caused them to go away? Now I'm like, thank you for not wasting my time.
Beverly, you know what? It's even a greater gift because if somebody unsubscribes, that means they read it for a second and they went, I don't want. So that means that you got through to their inbox.
Yeah.
Open.
Yeah.
No,
you're right. And you do have to take that as information. I'm not saying that I have the perfect newsletter. I'm certainly working on that. Something that I've been really working on the last couple of years. But you do. That's like, I'm not taking it personally anymore. I am who I am. And I think there's something about hitting 50, Jody, where you have less F's to give about everything. And you're like, okay, bye-bye.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, I was fired last week by a client.
Oh,
so we've been working together for 6 months in total, 5 months as a consultant. We met twice a month. We have Slack channel. We Slack every day. I went above and beyond for this client as I do. Personal phone calls, over-promising or over-delivering things I promised. And out of nowhere, I got an email this long telling me all the reasons that I lied. I did not fulfill on my promises because the goals that we created for her 2026, they were not happening. Now, I could tell you a bunch of stuff that's happening in her personal life that is causing that. And it's also not my job. I'm not her marketer. I'm not her sales trainer. I'm her consultant. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was just ruminating in my brain constantly. Yeah. And normally in my 40s, I would have thought about that for 3 weeks. But instead, after 48 hours, I went, you know what? Not only is she better off with somebody else, I am better off without having that negative thing in my life. And whatever. It's one client, off she goes. I wish her the best. And that's what I said to her when my last email is, I wish you the best. I hope that your clinic reaches all those goals and you thrive. And because I adore her. But it happens, man.
It does. It totally happens. I agree with you completely that those are signs of growth when you can not obsessulate about the thing that's happening and not take it so personal and be like, you know what, this isn't about me. This is probably about her. And sometimes it's not a good fit and it's okay. You're not able to be perfect for everyone. You did your best and move along. Next. And there's probably things to learn and maybe you'll do something differently. What I've learned in those moments is just like with dating, I know what I don't want now. I've kissed enough frogs to know I don't want a lot of those things. That's not what I wanted in my relationship with my forever partner, right? And like when you're with clients, you could learn that's not a good client. I can't carry that person across the finish line. They have to do the work too. And I'm not some magic. I love magic but I'm not some magical solution that's going to just snap your fingers and be done. There's going to be work involved. And if you're not willing to do that or have accountability around it, you're probably not the best client for me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. There's some uncomfortable moments, but as I've gotten older and wiser and have those less F's to give, it's a whole different game and it's way better for me mentally.
One last thing about it, which this was my big takeaway. And that was my first initial reaction, which is where I normally go, is you did too much. Now look what she's doing to you and all the time you gave to her. And then I scaled it back and I was like, you know what? And I'll do it again. Because for the right person, it matters. And it was my choice. No one forced me. No one told me to do. It was what I was authentically choosing to do. And she didn't appreciate it. Okay. I'm not going to let everybody else in the world suffer that I come in contact with because this one person, because like you said, I'm sure something that's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let the next person I work with not get the best parts of me just because this person didn't appreciate it. So, and again, and that is a 50 and above.
This wisdom that happens at 50. A whole lot of stuff happened when I turned 50. It was the nurturing hormones went bye-bye, and this is who I actually am came to present and is now living very intentionally in my body. So it's amazing. Okay, so where can people find you, Jody? Obviously, you're on Instagram.
LinkedIn, of course.
And now LinkedIn, because she's going to go do all the things to make it better.
The best place to find me is at the website. So acceleratedmedicalpractices.com or email me directly. I'm Jody, Jody, at acceleratedmedicalpractices.com. There's lots of places I am, but those are the two best places to find me. I also have a podcast, Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness, and I interview wellness or functional medicine or hormone practice owners to talk about their authentic journey in building their business.
Oh, nice.
Anyone
that today's episode maybe inspired you in some way, gave you some new idea. But most of all, I want you to know that your message matters and your work matters, and the world needs to hear what you have to say. Marketing isn't just about showing up and being visible. It's about the impact that you can make on your team, your community, your people that you serve. It's about connecting with the right people in a way that feels true to you specifically. No one else. It doesn't have to make anybody else happy but you. So I want you to keep showing up, keep sharing your brilliance, and keep making magic in the world. And if you ever get stuck, just know that you don't have to do this alone. We're here to help you turn your spark into a wildfire. So until next time, I dare you to be wickedly branded. Wow, what an incredible conversation we just had. I hope that this episode lit a little bit of a fire under you to finally bring your brand to life in a way that feels true to you. Remember, clarity is the spark, but activation is that fire and flame that keeps your message and your visuals and your strategy aligned, and the confidence that follows. So does that lovely thing called momentum that you've been waiting for. So if today's episode, if you loved it, make sure you are subscribed to the Wickedly Branded Marketing Podcast so you never miss an insight or a conversation. Until next time, dare to be wickedly branded.